Ocean Institute for a little under 2 years now. And what is behind making this call possible is just two huge satellites that we have on board. The wonderful work of our ETO. He's in charge of all electronic things working on board. And just making all the connections between the scientists, the people that are special personnel, as we call them, the crew, and the outside world.
Excellent. What's the hardest part of your job? What other than dealing with Brock and with me every day? What do you find is the most challenging? What requires the most preparation to make these go as seamlessly as they're going?
You mean the ship to shore calls?
Yes.
I would say the biggest challenge is just crossing your fingers so the internet, the connection will be strong enough. We've had some calls, and of course we're in the middle of the ocean, so I think sometimes it'd be easier to be in a space station and have the connectivity, maybe because you're right next to the satellite, right? But yeah, I think for us it's just a matter of making sure that we're going to have the bandwidth necessary.
And one of the things that Monika has access to is an incredible staff of support people who, if something goes on the fritz, are right behind you, live time to make things happen. If this screen were to crash and you couldn't get it booted up again, whether it's Callen or it's Mike, there's somebody always to call, a marine tech that can come in and make the repair short-term or long-term.
Yeah, I think that, the setup, the behind the scenes to make all of this work, it's as cables and connections go, as simple as possible. So my theory is that when you've been sailing for an amount of time, people and everybody begin to get tired, and things can go on the fritz, as you say. Mm-hmm. But it's just, it's nothing tragic, it's just, so I think the equipment, as the cruise progresses, sometimes have a little bit of a hard time, but nothing major.
But the good news so far on this cruise, knock on wood, is our connections have been seamless, our connections with you. And by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you, Mr. Dorn, thank you, Mr. McGrath, for the amount of time and effort they put into making sure from your end these things go smoothly, because that makes Monika's job a whole lot easier. Holly's in Hawaii and representing Schmidt Ocean Institute there, so she's sort of the land-based coordinator. But both Mr. Dorn and Mr. McGrath deserve a huge round of applause for what they've made happen these last 2 weeks. So thank you, Monika.
No, I'm not done with you. All right, so you're a media journalist. You travel the world doing photography, videography, as well as writing. You do a bunch of graphic design work, but you just had a pretty cool trip that you were telling me a little bit about. Can you tell me about your last trip?
Yes, well, I've been very fortunate to get in touch with some amazing organizations, and as you say, they believe in my work, and so they take me along with them. Reason. Oh, thank you. And so, not with this vessel, but with Conservation International and an international NGO, as the name says, we went to Cocos Island, and that's
Does anybody know where Cocos Island is? Anybody know anything about Cocos Island?
Ask Fran if she knows.
Fran, do you know?
Cocos Island. Yeah.
What makes it special?
Well, it's, the oceans, first of all, are in trouble a lot when it comes to conservation and just the overall state of them. But even if they were completely healthy, all of the ocean is not the same. You find hotspots, you find different places, and then there's like whole deserts, right? And then you have hotspots. And Cocos is one of these hotspots. So it's an oceanic island. It's more than 500 kilometers off the coast, the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. So I don't know, 500 kilometers, how much that is.
Right, it's about 330 miles off of the coast of Costa Rica in the Pacific.
In the Pacific, yes, it's off the continental plate, so you're in the depths of the ocean, and it's like a living laboratory, and you can take a look at how we think the oceans used to be at some point. So it's impossible to jump in the water and not see all sorts of life there and big animals.
Big animals such as?
All kinds of sharks. We've seen orcas, manta rays, you name it. Yeah, dolphins.
But you were watching from a boat, so you weren't in the water at all, right?
No, we were in the water all the time.
In the water the whole time with these big animals. What's the feeling you get being in the water with those large animals?
Completely excited. It's you're thinking underwater. This is the reason why I do what I do. It's the first time you see a shark up close, you've been fed so many bad information about them that it's impossible to say that you don't get a little nervous. And even today, if they get really, really close because they are curious, you want at least a meter between you and the shark at all times.
A couple of feet. You want a couple?
Yeah, at least. But no, the more you dive with them, the more you become aware of their behavior and how uninterested they are in biting you, especially in such a healthy environment as Coco. So they have plenty of food. They don't need to come and see what you are.
Okay. Guys, what questions do you have for Monika?
Were you always working on boats, or did you end up on a boat after you've been working on the land for a while?
Well, as I said, I was born in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica has two coasts, the Caribbean and the Pacific. So it's impossible not to feel tied to the ocean from the moment you're born there. But I really didn't make a choice, really. I just studied communications. While in the university, I got involved in the university's TV channel and started working in a TV show that they had that was dedicated to environmental conservation. And so that's how I, little by little, began creating a sort of specialization for myself, working in social or environmental issues. And then I went to study a master's in Norway, a country that also has many, many kilometers of coast. So it's like the ocean has always, I don't know if I've been following the ocean or it has been following me. And by the time I came back to Costa Rica, I started working with NGOs in marine conservation. But it was not a conscious choice that I made. I'm really happy about the way things happened. But I'd be lying if I said I went to school to do this kind of job because I knew that's what I wanted. I just know that I love to tell stories.
Monika, before you go, if you were going to if one of these fellas had an interest in pursuing your line of work, what's the one piece of advice you would give them? That's
good question.
I hadn't asked. We hadn't talked about that before. But what's the one thing? Let me ask it this way: what's the one thing that's made a big difference to you in your success in this business, pursuing A, what you love, but B, obviously what you're really good at? You wouldn't be working at SOI, Schmidt Ocean Institute, if you weren't. What's that one thing you think that got you to where you are today?
I think it's a combination of never placing all the responsibility on your teachers while you're a student, which means sometimes you go to class and you just sit down there and you are thinking that it is their responsibility to transfer the knowledge to you. But if you really are passionate about what you do, go and educate yourself as well. So research, I've done a lot of training on my own, using all the tools that we have available today through internet, applying to scholarships that I see around the world, just so I make myself a better professional. If I had just decided to settle for what the university was giving me, it was a great education, but I'd be right up there with everybody else that went out of that university, right? So you have a responsibility to become the best professional that you can. And in my line of work, it's also very important that you really listen to people and just try to get a feeling of why they are passionate about what they do, why what they're doing is important for us, but also for them. Because at the end of the day, people don't really care about something they cannot relate emotionally to. So you have to always look for that link, even if we're talking about a rock that is 4,000 meters down down the water. No, you would like to think I said that. I said rock, not Brock.
Person. I'm sorry? You've met a geologist. I mean, we've gone around in these last 4 classes, and met a lot of folks on the ship. And for every one person you've met, there's another person out there with another job. But again, it's an industry that's desperate for good people, motivated people, talented people, and experienced people. And that's what we're trying to do with Maritime Sciences at Vineyard. So again, Monika, thank you so much. I appreciate it.